Brothers and sisters, the Lord is with you.
And also with you.
We continue listening to God speak to us from the Gospel in the tradition of Mark.
Glory to you, Lord.
The apostles gathered together with Jesus, and they reported all they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while." People were coming and going in great numbers, and they didn't even have any opportunity to eat. So they went off in a boat by themselves to a deserted place. People saw them leaving, and many came to know about it. They hastened there on foot from all the towns and arrived at the place before them. When they disembarked, they saw the vast crowd, and Jesus' heart was moved with pity, for they were like sheep without a shepherd. And then he began to teach them many things. And this is the gospel, the good news of our salvation.
Praise you, Lord Jesus Christ.
By the words of the gospel, may our sins be blotted out.
Amen.
For those of you who are wondering who we are, I'm the pastor. I'm Father Joe. This is Father Vinnie, we've been together since '04 when we started this parish. That's Brother John over there in the corner. This is Brother Chris. Brother Victor is in the back, who's visiting us from New York. And Brother Richard's in the back, who doesn't look like any of us right now at all.
He's wearing brown. He's wearing brown.
And Brother Ivan.
Oh,
Brother Ivan.
How could I forget?
He won't like that.
Well, on behalf of Saints Francis and Clare, we welcome Zoe Marie, her family, and mom and dad, and godparents, and friends who are here to celebrate this beautiful event of bringing Zoe into the church. You know, it's not often that we have an opportunity, because of the way calendars fall, of celebrating certain events in the church because they don't fall on a Sunday. And because of the fact, within especially the Roman tradition, it's very difficult to move a feast to a Sunday and get the Sunday readings out. But we, as an independent church, though we try to be as faithful to the lectionary and the schedule as possible, we do have the right and the ability to kind of move things around a little bit because of what we see as important feasts. And today, the 22nd is the feast of Mary Magdalene. Last night, Brother Chris gave a talk about Mary Magdalene in his homily, and this is one of these individuals who kind of surface at a particular time, are involved in doing whatever it is that they do, and then you don't see them anymore. It's very much like the three kings. The three kings came and they did what they had to do, and they warned they were warned not to go back to Herod, and they saved themselves and the babe. You know that whole story. But where did they go? What happened to them? They go into the midst of history somewhere. They return to their own homes. And Mary Magdalene is one of these individuals who surface and performs a very, very important part of the early church. There's questions about who she was, what she was, how rich she was, where was she from, and everything is kind of like a Dan Brown novel, that she was this, she was that, she was married to Jesus, they had children, they lived in France, their progeny live on today. A theory, makes for good cinema. But in the church, we need a little bit more scripture. And being that we don't have that, being that we know that Mary was a very important part of the last few days of Jesus' life, she was one who was willing to stand by the cross with Jesus' mother, the other Mary and with John, the beloved disciple. She was one who helped to prepare Jesus' body. She was one who went with the other women to prepare after the Sabbath, after they could go back and finish the rituals that were necessary in the baptism, the burial rites of the Jewish people. But lo and behold, she also was the one, the only one, who Jesus first appeared to. Even his mother didn't get that blessing. Jesus appeared to her. And in St. John's Gospel, there's a beautiful story about Mary's encounter. So that being said, today we come together to baptize, to bring this little baby into our community. Now, she's already been blessed by God by the fact that she has loving parents and a loving family that she's been born into. She obviously is happy, well-fed, taken care of, all that. And so already she's blessed. And I believe that she is part of God's family right now because God created her to be part of the family. But today we welcome her in a very special ceremony into God's church. And we do that because in our history, from ages past, from the earliest days of the Christian community, individuals were welcomed, not as little babies, but as adults. And it wasn't until whole families started to be coming in and they started having children and wanting to have them baptized, do we see the church moving from adult baptism, which is the normative way, to infant baptism, which is not the normative way. But because of the fact that we want them as early as possible to be part of God's community, we have infant baptism today. Part of Mary's role, Mary Magdalene's role, and one of the most important roles is that after she experienced the risen Christ, she went and told the apostles that Christ is risen. And because of that, she has been given the title, the Apostle to the Apostles. For the word apostolion means one who is sent. And Jesus said to her, "Go and tell my brothers that I will see them in Galilee." And so Mary's role was, as an apostle, as one being sent by the Lord, to go and to proclaim the risen Christ. And today, the challenge is, as we sit here and we see this beautiful baby and we welcome her into the Christian community, the challenge is, are we going to be apostles? Not apostles to the apostles, but apostles to this baby. And how do we do that? By what we say, definitely, but more importantly, by what we do, how we live. I have a cousin, or had a cousin, she's passed away now, she was close to 90. She spent 70 years in religious life as a teacher. The Italian order, teachers Filippini. And she's always said to me, "Vinnie, realize that faith is not taught. Faith is caught. And it's caught by those people who are around us. And we catch the faith by what we see and do." And remembering growing up and living in a very, very Italian family with my aunts who were constantly in church, especially my Aunt Nancy. They always said she should have been a nun. But you couldn't slap the rosaries out of her hand. She was constantly at church, and thank God the church was right across the street. But she was always there. She always made sure that we got there. And when she moved from the family house and we would visit her, the church was about a half a mile away, and every Saturday afternoon, like little ducks, we said the rosary, walking in to go to confession, and made sure, and there was, it wasn't like, well, Aunt Nancy, I don't want to go. No, it was not. It's not. Would you like? You are going. And that inspired me. That inspired me in my faith, because I saw how important this was to them. And I saw how important it was in their life, not just on a Sunday, not just on a holiday, but every day. That they spent time in prayer, that they spent time going over to the church to light a candle, to do whatever it is devotionally that they thought would be good. So now the responsibility falls to us as Christian community. Whether you are living here, whether you're living in some other state, it doesn't matter. We are all called to be apostles to our babies, to teach them, to show them how to live a good Christian life. A life that is happy. A life that is joy-filled. A life where we share the very life of God in us. From the very beginning of time, even before time began, God knew each one of us and created us as the best son and daughter that He could create. And so today we celebrate the fact that Zoe Marie is part of that creation, that from all time God knew that Zoe Marie would be the best little daughter that He could create. And so now it's our turn to share that faith with her. Again, not by what we say. Sending her to Catholic school is not going to do it. Sending her to Catholic college is not going to do it. I don't know how many people moan and groan because of the fact they spent so much money on Catholic school and that my child doesn't go to church. Oh well. But it's by how we live. What are we going to do to show this baby that Jesus is alive? What are we going to do to show this baby that Jesus is risen? And how are we going to help her one day to be an apostle, to share that good news with people that she will come in contact with in the future? Zoe Marie, I said before, we welcome you with great joy. And now, let us baptize you in the name of the Lord.